Dr. Paul, thank you for meeting with me, and congratulations on your speech today, your final speech in the House.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The reason for the interview concerns the 30th anniversary for the case for gold. Can you imagine that it's been 30 years since that time?
It just seems like yesterday. And who would have ever dreamed that in 30 years we wouldn't be any closer to gold? Now, we have to be closer because we will get one someday, so we are closer. But no, it's rather amazing. But, in the early 80s, there was a lot of talk of gold. There was a financial crisis. Interest rates were very high. Interesting now, we're talking about gold again, and gold commissions and gold standard, and interest rates are at historic lows. So either way, they still talk about sound money, and I'm glad that the discussion is coming, and I think eventually all countries are forced back into some commodity money. So hopefully the case for gold is just as appropriate today as it was 30 years ago.
And it does hold up, actually. The last section in there where you have all your reform proposals from 1982, it's still applying today. Now, you mentioned high interest rates in the old days, low interest rates these days, but both are artificial.
That's right. They're artificial. And, of course, with artificial interest rates, that's why we get an artificial economy. We distort the economy. We get malinvestment, overinvestment, the financial bubbles. And even when interest rates are high, they can be lower than the market. So but once the Fed interferes with market interest rates, they're disturbing the price structure of the cost of money and the use of money. And this is why when they argue, oh, there's no inflation right now, so there's no harm done. But if they're inflating the currency and you get artificial interest rates, we're still getting tons of malinvestment. They create all this money, and they want it to go into economic growth. And where do they end up? Banks get the money and they hold on to it and put it back in the Fed. So it's distortion. What they can't predict is where the money goes, and the distortions we, as Austrians, at least the way I understand it, we can predict that there will be distortions. Exactly what the distortions will be, we don't know, but the whole idea of pricing and interest rates are so crucial, and that to me is a major message that we have to get out if we're going to have monetary reform.
How long do you suppose the Fed is going to hold on to the zero interest rate policy, or is there going to come a time when they can't control it anymore?
They're going to do it until the market tells them they can't do it any longer. Bernanke cannot give up. I mean, he can't give up 40 years of what he believed. So he's not going to say, oh, I guess I made a mistake, so I'm going to raise interest rates.
Even if it's not working, even if there's no growth.
He can't do it. Because if he decided tomorrow to either raise interest rates deliberately or let the market raise interest rates, probably the immediate reaction might be very negative. But we can't tell.
Yeah.
Might be people would say, hey, we're finally making sense, so we don't know. But from his viewpoint, I cannot conceive of him of allowing interest rates to go up. That doesn't mean interest rates won't go up, right, but the market can overwhelm. And just creating new money and credit instead of automatically lowering rates, it might do the reverse. So that's what he doesn't have control of.
And he believes that he can control anything. When you listen to his speeches, it's always shocked you, right? I mean, there's this arrogance there, and this perception that the Fed governor can control all events. But in 1982, when you wrote your book, even back then, the markets were speaking. They were raising interest rates with that inflation premium.
Yeah, and they were, I think, a little bit better attuned to doing what they should have done. I mean, interest rates were allowed to go up. Yes. That was policy. I don't think you're going to have Paul Volcker taking over the Fed or somebody like Paul Volcker. That's my opinion. But that, again, doesn't mean that interest rates won't go up. I think interest rates will go up, but it won't be because Bernanke has decided they'll go up. They'll go up because the market has decided that, we need a little inflation protection or some other thing. Or foreigners won't buy as much debt or something.
Your leaving Congress leaves a huge hole, of course, with knowledge about monetary policy. Can I ask you about what influence do you think you've had in your educational work? Have you found that people have gotten more interested in this topic of money and banking within the House?
Oh, a little bit, yeah. But where the changes occurs around the country on college campuses, who would have ever dreamed that you could go to the campus of the University of Michigan and having young students burning Federal Reserve notes and shouting in the Fed. No, I mean, it's completely different. I mean, what has happened in these last 5 years, it started in the presidential campaign of '08, but during this last time, with the help of our campaign for liberty, we made the Federal Reserve an issue, and actually to the point where it became politically advantageous for the Republicans to endorse, and they thought there would be a political advantage to allowing the bill to go through the House and putting it in their platform. It's not because they were doing me a favor or really believed in it, but their antennas were up, and they know that there's a lot of people out there thinking about it. The people in Washington, the Geithners of the world, and the Federal Reserve, and the people who run the banking committee, they're not really thinking seriously about this. But the people's minds and attitudes have to change, and then Congress, out of necessity, will change.
Do you see some reform efforts being generated by the market itself? In other words, the market basically bailing out of paper money, finding other ways to conduct business besides
let's hope so, and that's why my really first approach is just legalize the competition. Some people say I'm too soft and that we should abolish the Fed tomorrow morning. And that, of course, isn't my position. I think the Fed should go. I think it will go. I think it'll probably go on its own accord. But the most important thing we do is give people every option to get out. But now you have some people who just want to use gold and silver in transactions. They can get into a lot of trouble. Yeah. So although the Constitution is clear that gold and silver should be legal tender, if you go ahead and use it for legal tender, you can get into trouble because, and even the Federal Reserve note is supposed to be legal tender for all debts, public and private. Yet, during the hurricane problems up in New York, you couldn't even get cash out of the banks.
That's right.
They don't even want us to have the freedom of using currency anymore. But that's been steady and ongoing. I think if we don't get the monetary reforms we need in legalizing competition, what we're going to see is a concerted effort to get rid of all cash transactions. Which hopefully the people will resist.
The New York Times even today, though, talks about how we're starting to see loan services being outsourced from the banking system, which is so broken down, and even being picked up by things like Walmart and Costco. That's kind of exciting, isn't it?
I think that'd be neat, just so the feds don't close them down. Everybody say, well, let's have a bank examination here. See what you do. Maybe they'll do the same thing to them that somebody does with a silver dollar.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Dr.
Oh, wonderful. Good to see you.
For your amazing work, and you look forward to our new edition of the Case for Gold.
Thank you.